Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Still the Fat Kid podcast. I'm here with my man Taylor Roberts.
How's it
Taylor
going?
is a member of the band Wildfire, and this has been a long time coming. We've been trying to schedule this literally for 2 months now.
It's been ridiculous, man. Our schedule has just out of nowhere started picking up. So, we're just having to go with the flow. I haven't been to 97.9 CPR in a minute either. So,
Yeah,
I've usually been doing the night show over there, and I have had no time whatsoever.
you've been a little busy.
Just a little bit.
I mean, releasing a full album,
Yeah, yeah.
that takes a little bit of work.
Oh my gosh, that was 3 years in the making. Three
Jeez.
plus years, really, because I mean, we spent a year and some change writing the record. Well, we've been writing the record for longer than that, but we recorded in, I want to say, early February of 2015. So,
Wow.
the record came out May 23rd, 2017. So, that's two years and some change. So, man, it's been the biggest relief in the world, though, to get it out.
Yeah. So Taylor is a phenomenal guitarist, and the way he's able, like the thing I love about watching Taylor play is he's so animated on stage. Like the way you're able to play as good as you play while still being animated was like one of the first things that like drew me to y'all's music. Like these guys put out so much energy in doing what they're doing, yet they still perform at such a high level.
I mean, honestly, a lot of that I'm just really good at covering up mistakes. um, it's one of those things that if I do mess up live, I don't ever act like I
Just
messed
roll with
up,
it.
and I just roll with it. But that's what makes it a rock show to me. Like,
Exactly.
if it'd be boring if it was perfect.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be in the moment, and I just we like going with the flow.
You have to, man. That's part of what makes the rock live experience so
Yeah,
great.
for sure.
I mean, at the Hard Rock Cafe show, Battle of the Bands, you busted one of your chords.
Yeah. One of my is the D string. It was in the middle, or it was in the the bridge section of our song "Fight or Flight," and I just felt it pop, but I was like, you know what, I can get through the rest of this part of the song,
Yeah.
and luckily I was able to change it out in like 10 seconds or so. So thank the Lord for locking tuners. So super quick transition, but it's just a matter of going with the flow. Like, well, they didn't really know that I broke a string, or maybe they did, and
I mean, I noticed it because it's hard not to notice.
I play power cables on my with my strings, man. Every time I tell people my string gauge, they're like, "How do your hands not?" It's like, I don't
You've
know.
been doing it a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but there's a powerful lesson in that for a lot of people. Like when I saw that and I saw you like take it in stride,
Right.
a lot of people, especially like when they're in their craft or when they're doing what they love and something goes wrong, it's like terrible and it completely throws them off track and they
Right.
stress out
Right.
about it. But like literally you're smiling about this. You're like, it happens. And you go get another guitar string and you just keep on rocking on.
Well, man, like one of my favorite Queen songs, "Show Must Go On." Nobody's gonna stop for you in that moment.
No.
Because I'm just a cog in the machine that our band is.
Hmm.
I'm a small part. Well,
Yeah.
so it's like we all have a part to play, but if I know that my guys have my back, so it's like, man, might as well brush it off, laugh it off, and have a good time, because if I'm having a good time, more than likely so are you.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. So one of the ways I always like to start out interviews is what is something that you're grateful for?
something I'm grateful for. I'd have to say you guys out there that have supported the band, because without these people that we've met, Music Discussion Group was a really big tool for us to meet people from Japan, from New Jersey, Ohio, you know, Tennessee, people over in, I think they have some other people in like the UK, but you know what I'm saying? Like we got to reach out and meet people like that. So that's the one thing I've been thankful for, is the cool people that we've met along the way, because we've been able to just network ourselves almost around the world.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of meeting new people.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's what makes your craft and your passion. It's what makes you. It makes it worth doing it.
Right,
Like when you
right.
meet somebody that loves what you do for a living, like they love what you love,
Yeah.
they love your product. Oh God, that's a great
It
feeling.
it's the best feeling in the world, man. And going touching on the meeting people, like the fact that we get to go to a different city every
Hmm.
night, wake up, meet new people, like that's what I like. I like to get thrown to the wolves a little bit and then prove ourselves a bit and then meet people who were like, man, that was really cool. And
Yeah,
then we usually become lifelong friends with those people.
yeah. I mean, there's no denying y'all's live show.
Thank
There's
you.
there's no denying like when y'all go put on a live performance, unless something's just horribly off with the sound or something. There's no denying like how much energy and effort and quality y'all put into a live show.
I appreciate that, man. It's just it's a release, it's a way to put everything that's in here and in here. I get, we get to express that because, we like I'm not good at putting it into lyrics
Hmm.
but I can convey it through the way that I play,
Yeah,
So it's just a great outlet. It's the best outlet in the world, really.
yeah. I agree. We all need that form of like some type of energy release.
Absolutely.
All right. So this is gonna be a weird song for you because you're a weird question for you because you're an artist.
Okay.
But if you had to have a walkout song for life, like you know how batters when they come up to bat, they have
Yeah.
a walkout song. But you had to have one for like every time you walked out in life, what would it
Oh
be?
God, what an unfair question that is.
I knew it'd be a tough one for you.
Because so many reasons. Um, oh my God. I would say "Walk with Me in Hell" by Lamb of God. I actually have that tattooed on my, like, this is the actual sheet music for
Hmm.
that song. Man, just because the intro is so epic and it's so heavy, but it's not too heavy, but it's a super heavy song because I mean it's the Lamb of God,
Yeah.
and they always bring it and they're insanely brutal, but it's just such a groovy song, and but it hits so hard, and just from everything from the melodies and the overall feel of the song to down to the lyrics, um, take hold of my hand, walk with me through hell. Like, to me, it's like you got to walk through the bad things in life, but you always have people there that are willing to help you with it, and
Absolutely.
we all got to walk through hell at some point. So,
That we do.
and that song always encourages me to the way I interpret it anyway. Like, I'm gonna make it through,
Hmm.
and I'm stronger than what you have to throw at me. So,
Yeah.
and the song just makes me want to rage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the hardest iron is forged in the fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when did you get started in music? Like, what age were you?
I was 7 years old. I started on the alto saxophone, believe it or not.
Interesting.
I'd always like expressed interest in music, but I'd never thought about playing an instrument,
Hmm.
but I knew that I always liked music, like my one of my first birthday gifts that I remember, like vividly remember, was a Walkman cassette tape player with Michael Jackson's Thriller, because I mean, dude, that record's genius.
Yeah.
That record's genius, and it's just so good. And I think my mom recognized that, and she didn't quite know where I was gonna land, so she was like, "I'm putting you in band." And at first, I was like, "Band? Ugh, no." And I got to start playing saxophone, and then I was like, wow, I like doing this. And, I did that for a few years. And then when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I think around 10, um, one of my best friends in elementary school, his whole family was into rock, the McBride family. They're super cool people. They were into like Miss Susan's favorite band was Taproot, and Kayla's favorite band was Korn, and they listened to that, like Mudvayne, Slipknot, Papa Roach, and I'll never forget it. I was hanging out with Caleb one day, um, and Papa Roach's Between Angels and Insects came on, and
Hmm.
like I immediately just went, "What was that?" And I was like, "I gotta learn how to do that."
Hmm.
And I started bugging my mom for a guitar, and when I was on my 10th Christmas, if you will, she got me a guitar, and then that's pretty. I was like, yeah, I threw the saxophone to the side, and
This is a way cooler instrument.
well, okay. To be fair, I played it for like 2 more years or whatever.
Yeah.
But like with guitar, I was like, this is way more fun. I get to make
Right.
noise, rock and roll, and So from there, I started playing at age 10. I just turned 28 last week, so 18 years
18
playing
years.
guitar, and 21 years music total.
Now, were you self-taught, or how'd you learn?
When I first learned like with saxophone, I was in school band. Mr. Bruce Garner was my music teacher, so I learned how to read music, for saxophone and everything. And then when I moved to guitar, my first guitar teacher was James Gillies down when Music Go Round was still in Edgewater.
Mm-hmm.
The little Edgewater
Oh,
Mall
wow.
strip. Yeah,
That was,
yeah, yeah. When Bebop Records was
yeah.
still there, we actually still, back when the coast was super cool. It's coming back, but there's always before Katrina, after Katrina.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I used to spend so much time over there, like going back and forth between that and the record shop. But I learned from James for a few years, and then took a break from lessons, and then I ended up going to Dave Knorr at Pinkston's Music.
Mm-hmm.
And I stuck with Dave for about 4 or 5 years, and then from there I just was kind of self-taught.
Yeah.
From there.
So you started playing guitar, and what about the guitar, like, where did your passion really develop for it?
I think when I first got my guitar, because I had no clue what to do,
Mm-hmm.
it was the most fascinating thing that I had ever held in my hands, and it felt right. Like something about it, it just felt right in my hands,
Yeah.
and every time I remember I sat in my bed, I was sitting like this, 10 years old, and just, and I'll never forget, my dad poked his head in the door and he was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't know, but I'm having fun." And
Exactly right.
he kind of laughed and he's like, "I'd be doing the same thing," and then he shut the door, and I continued to just strum away. But every time I would hit it, like I would just hit a string, like the sound was just pure joy to my ears, man. And you know, um, I don't know. I'm just obsessed with guitar.
Yeah.
It's and once I started learning how to write songs and form ideas, man, it was just I have trouble playing video games nowadays, man. Like I can't. I'm just give me a guitar.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was just one of those. It's hard to explain because it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Why you say that?
Dude, I've seen this whole country because except for like Washington and Oregon, like the northeast and
Mhm.
Wyoming and stuff like that. But I mean, dude, music is. I'm right here because of music.
Yeah.
I'm doing this interview because of music, and my guitar has taken me across the country. Like I've seen places I never thought I would have seen. I've opened for bands that I never thought I'd be sharing the stage with, and like those bands that I mentioned to you, like there's maybe 2 bands on that list that we haven't opened for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like hell, our first tour was with Taproot.
Yeah.
That was amazing. If you would have told 10-year-old me, because that's what I was. Those were the bands
what
that I
you
was
grew up with.
listening to.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would have told 10-year-old me, dude, you're gonna go on tour with Taproot and you're gonna become friends with those guys. And I just went up to their 15th anniversary show at the Machine Shop. I stayed with their drummer Dave, and man, like it was the coolest time in the world. So.
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to do the most amazing things because of music, and guitars are just sexy, dude. Like
Yeah.
I love guitars, man. They're so cool.
Yeah.
Like,
and when you, like you said, when you put it in your hands, it just felt right.
yeah.
Like okay, this is home. Like this is
Right.
where it's supposed to be.
Right, absolutely.
Where when I put a guitar in my hands, I'm like, nothing about this is natural. Like me doing this and this at the same time,
Right.
but different. Yeah, I'm so confused right now. I spent 6 months trying to learn how to play the guitar, and one of the things that I've learned through this whole process is, when you're as ADD as me and you are,
Right.
only your like true passions will rein that in.
Right.
So I guess because it wasn't like a deep burning passion of mine, like I'm one of the biggest like music fiends out there. Like
Right.
anybody that knows me knows how much I absolutely love music and
Oh yeah,
admire what
absolutely.
people like you do because I can't do it. But you know, for me, it just wasn't like actual playing. I guess just wasn't that much of a passion, so it didn't really rein in my ADD
Right.
spirit. And I know from being around you how ADD you are. But put a guitar in your hands, and that's gone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know, at the same time though, like, dude, if I didn't have people like you, what I do wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, so it's all a journey.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know.
it's definitely a journey.
Like you said, it was just an instant connection, man. Just put it in my hands and that was it.
Came alive.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of, and kind of going back to that same topic of your passion, your love. A lot of artists that I've talked to, because you know I was on tour with the guys from Three Doors and those guys for a while this past year. You know, you talk to these guys.
Red Sun Rising was on that run
Red
too.
Sun Rising.
I love
Oh, they're
that band.
so
They're
good.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it
Go
was,
see them live. If Red Sun Rising is anywhere near you, just go. You're welcome.
they do put on a great live show. But you know, just being around those musicians, being around y'all and a lot of other musicians, you see that like this is their outlet in life.
Yeah.
Well, like me, going to the gym is my outlet.
Right. Right.
Music for, you know, artists, that's their outlet, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like if something's going wrong, if something's negative in their life, if like dealing with anything, that's their therapy.
Right.
Do you look at it the same way?
Oh, dude, absolutely. You know, this last year was a really strange year, but it's put me to where I'm the happiest that I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And but there was about a 6-month period, man, where we weren't playing shows because we had to finish the record. We had to do all this stuff behind the scenes, and I was a wreck because I wasn't able to be me.
Yeah.
Like whenever I'm on stage, that's when I feel like who I truly am gets to come out. Like, cause you know, I mean, I get to be me, and for that 6-month period, you know, we played like our last show we did of 2016 was November with Hell Yeah at Crest Live,
Mm-hmm.
and then we didn't play again till like April 20th, something like that, like
Wow.
or April, April 20th,
So about 5 months.
29th. Yeah, it was right on the 6-month
Mm-hmm.
dotted line. You know what I mean? And my God, it was just miserable because when you can't be yourself, you know, because you feel like you got to repress a lot of who you are in everyday life because, you know, the tattoos and the jumping around like an idiot on stage. I
Mm-hmm.
can't just do that in everyday life.
If you acted the way you acted on stage every day in public, you might get some looks. Let's be honest.
I might get a straight jacket too.
Probably. But yeah, I mean, and that's what's weird about it is, you know, you want to be yourself 24/7.
Right.
But there's also like pieces of ourselves that are almost like magnifications of our personality,
Right.
where we do take it to the extreme. It's still who we are, but it's amplified.
Right.
Like when you're on stage, like me talking to you right now and talking to you as, you know, because we're friends,
Mhm.
that's who you are.
Right.
Being on stage, while it's a completely different persona, it's still who you are.
Right.
It's just an amplified version of.
Right.
Or like when I go to the gym and I get in the zone.
Oh, dude.
I mean, you've seen me. I'm a little bit intense.
Thought I was gonna die a few times on our workouts.
We've worked out together a few times. But you know, I get pretty intense in there.
Yeah.
I can't walk around my everyday life like that.
Right. Right.
I mean, yeah, people like, yeah, he probably just killed somebody. Like that's probably the look on my face.
Yeah.
But you know, being able to go to that extreme of your personality, you know, I don't think a lot of people do that.
Right.
I think a lot of people just go through life and they hold back that part of their personality,
Right.
that really exaggerated, let all inhibitions go and just go be 100% raw.
Right.
And I think it's a shame, man.
Well, do you, you know, I was listening to a song by Highly Suspect called "My Name Is Human."
Yes.
And
It's a
my
great
favorite
song.
line from that song is in the last chorus when he says, "I'm up off my knees, girl, and I know who I am." Like, what a sobering thought and lyric.
Mhm.
I know who I am.
Yes.
You know, and I think a lot of people don't embrace that sometimes,
No.
you know, and you have to, because whether or not you believe you have a dream or you have this amplified personality that we're talking about, if you think you don't, you're wrong, because you do. Everybody, like, you've got something that makes you you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I feel like some people are afraid to, express that,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things that you just got to go for it. You got to follow your dreams, and you got to do what makes you happy, because you get one shot.
One shot, and
And
it's a lot of
tomorrow's
times. I mean, it just boils down to fear. You're so scared about people judging you for unleashing that.
You know what speaking of that, what I've found to be truthful is that when you're doing something that is a part of who you are, or it's something you believe in and it's scary, 9 times out of 10 it's the right thing to do.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Especially when it's about to bring change in your life, you should do it.
That's what I was thinking.
Like,
That's when you know you're pushing the envelope.
uh-huh.
That's when you know you're
Uh-huh.
on that barrier of truly breaking through to the next side.
Right, right. And man, I can't tell you, like, it's the coolest feeling in the world to just cross to that other side, and then it makes you want to push even more boundaries, and then these other fears that you might have had, you're going to break through them,
Mm-hmm.
just like that. Like, one simple change, and one, I say simple, it's not simple, but at the same time it totally is.
It's absolutely simple.
But when you take that leap, everything else falls into the place the way it needs to.
It does, because like with me, I'm a complete like shy introvert. So doing stuff like
Heard.
this or being on stage talking in front of people, like that's completely out of my wheelhouse. Like that is just not normal for me.
Right.
I'm much more comfortable sitting in my room with the lights off in front of my computer or something like that. Like that's
Yeah.
more of like just where I'm not having to deal with those fears.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I know that if I stay in that place, I'm not helping anyone else.
Right.
I'm
Nothing's
just being
gonna
completely
happen.
selfish and just doing what I want to do and saying, to heck with the rest of the world.
Right.
And, the same thing with you. If you stood on stage and just
Yeah.
you wouldn't have any influence over anybody. But because you get up there and you put on a show and you push the envelope of who you are and you let that come out, they're able to identify with you. Like you were talking about earlier, when you act out the song Villain, people literally can see that along with the words and be like, God, I've felt like that before.
Right.
And that's where they don't identify with you being, that reserved self. They identify with you being that like authentic, real self.
Pretty sure I'm gonna give myself brain damage one of these days.
Possibly. Strong possibility of that.
Tend to hit myself a little bit during that song.
All right, so changing gears a little bit.
Okay.
New album, Revolt.
Yeah.
Where'd the name come from?
It came from it was the title, tongue tied. It was one of our favorite tracks on the record.
Mm-hmm.
And we just always had this idea to incorporate the militia theme style for live, because we're big supporters of the military. Zach was a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler and I both come from Air Force families, so we're big supporters of that, and we have a lot of fans and friends in the military, and so we just had this theme idea, to roll with like the resistance, revolt, and we wanted to take a stand with the record too.
Yeah.
So it's basically saying, we're not going to do what you tell us to do, and we're going to do it our own way, and we're going to prevail.
I like it. So that's probably and you see that's kind of the common theme of the album.
Right.
By the way, the album art was great.
Thank you.
That
was Archaic Vision. So.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about the creative music process. Because exactly, and that expression is exactly why I want to talk about this. Because working together, especially as artists, because let's be honest, you can say, it's not just artists, it's everybody. Everybody has egos, everybody has opinions, everybody has different ways of getting things done.
Right.
So when y'all sat down to put together this album, like you said, over 2 years in the making,
Yeah.
um, what was kind of that process y'all went through? What was the process of four very different, very independent guys coming together to put together an album?
A lot of yelling. A lot of yelling, a lot of hang up on each other, phone calls, a lot of disagreements, but there was also a great deal of compromise, a great deal of teamwork,
Mm-hmm.
and a great deal of bonding,
Yeah.
really. Because, I mean, when you're doing this, it is easy to get butthurt because you think that your idea is the best idea ever and the way that you've got it envisioned in your head. But then someone comes and they throw you a curveball
Yeah.
and you're like, no, that's stupid. I don't like that. No, I see what you're saying. I've tried it. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's like we wouldn't be who we are without the four of us. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And through that creative process, we get to learn about who we are as individuals, because like my musical background is super new metal. And like Cameron, he's more of a proggy kind of a guy, like Periphery style. And
Mm-hmm.
Zach was more Soundgarden, Envy on the Coast, Incubus style. And, Tyler's like your Blink 182, pop punky, Janis, kind
Mm-hmm.
of feel. And, I'm Papa Roach, Slipknot,
Exactly.
Stone Sour, Corn, that kind of stuff. So we all have very different personalities. So it's it's an interesting process, man, because at the end of the day, like I can think back so many times where we would have these arguments where we would bring each other to tears, like tearing each other down, like not meaning to, but we can say some harsh things to each other when trying to express why we disagree with why this person wants to change my idea
Mm-hmm.
or his idea or his idea. So it's just a super interesting process. But at the end of the day, man, like the results, it's like I'm so glad we had those arguments. I'm so glad we had those fights because the way we're starting to grow up as people, it's like, thank God they challenged us.
Yeah.
Thank God Zach would look at me and say, think you can do better. And I'm like, well, no, I can't. Wait, okay, maybe I can do better. Whereas same here when he comes to us with lyrics and we're like, no,
Mm-mm.
do this, put that there.
Yeah.
Or Cameron with drum parts or Tyler with bass parts, because we all have this grand vision of how our idea is supposed to sound. But, if it inspires another member to
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, it would sound really cool if you did that,
Yeah.
so we've been learning because I mean it is a long process to learn how to cope with that because when you're so passionate about something you feel like everybody around you is wrong, but in all reality they're not necessarily wrong. They're more so challenging you to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I mean, and use the keyword passion. When you have that much passion that you're putting into something,
mhm.
and you have four people with equal amounts of passion putting their own opinions, thoughts, and ideas into one project, you're gonna butt heads.
Right,
That's just part of it because part of having passion is creating vision. Like you just do
right,
that in your head. It's natural. It's gonna happen. So by creating that vision, this is how it's supposed to be. But then you have someone else with that different vision come in and they tell you, well, this is how I think it should be.
right.
And you're trying to come together to find that common ground. But you form that brotherhood.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's not when I tell people, like the guys I played college football with, we still talk on almost a daily basis
Oh wow. Yeah.
because when you go through something like that with someone,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, you want to kill each other, and you probably have wanted to break your guitar across Zach's head a few times. Exactly. So
but
you go through those moments, but it's because of those tough times and that crap that you went through
oh yeah.
that now the bond is so much tighter.
But it's funny about that because Zach and I have been together the longest, in this
Hmm.
band, and there have been so many times where we've wanted to fight each other, we've hated each other, you know, but at the end of the day, like, you know, I love him more than, you know, more than life. Like, he's my brother. Same with Tyler, same with Cameron, you know, but with Zach, man, it's like, he is the one person on the face of this planet that knows how to make me the most mad. He's the one dude. And I'm that same guy for him. I know how to make Zach mad,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, I feel like the way, and I feel like I'm pretty accurate in speaking on his behalf on this, but like I feel like we're very protective of each other.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like I'm the only one who's allowed to make Zach Sawyer mad. Only me.
Yeah.
Only me. You know, like if anyone else, it's just like,
Well, I mean, that's the way true brothers are.
yeah,
I mean, like with me and my brothers, of course we can get each other's skin. We can totally like just kill each other mentally, but outside that circle, don't you
yeah,
dare try to do that.
right,
We're
no
we're the only
doubt,
people allowed to do that. Don't you dare come from the outside and try to do
hmm
the same things we do inside that circle.
yeah,
Well, that's awesome. And the big thing too is you have these disagreements, but because of the end goal and the end vision,
hmm
you're able to come back together and get back on track.
right, because we know that we work together. Like it just works. Like I need all three of my guys the way that they need me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And with this band, man, like God, I'm a fan of every single band member in this band.
Oh yeah.
I always remember, because we were all in different bands. Like, and I remember going to Zach's band, checking him out, going, "Wow, he's got it." Tyler's band, he was a singer,
Hmm.
but he was just such a performer, and he had this passion for live music. And I just always remember, anytime he was in a band, he was the guy that I looked at. And with Cameron, I mean,
Jeez.
the dude is an animal. He's an
Look,
animal.
just this past week, I was sitting down with one of my friends, and I was showing him the live footage from Battle of the Bands.
Yeah.
And, Cam's all the way in the back. The angle I took the video from is kind of low, so you can't really see him all that well.
Right.
But there was a couple times that y'all were on both sides, and Zach would get out of the middle of the stage, and you could see Cam.
Yeah.
And I would like tell my friend, come watch this. Okay, keep in mind, this is a rock show.
Right.
Middle of the freaking song. And he's sitting there throwing his drumstick in the air while still playing with the other hand, catches it and doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
And he's doing this the whole time he's playing. I'm like, look how freaking good this guy is.
Oh man, there's certain times on stage where I'll catch some ear candy that Cameron just threw in there, and I turn around and I'm like, "What'd you just do? That was amazing!" Like,
Yeah.
and there's from time to time when we're able, like we'll give him a solo spot where he gets to do a drum solo, and it's one of those things, man. When he's doing it, you're just sitting there going, "How? How?" Like,
Yeah, and it's not just the fact that he's producing this sound, but it's the way that he performs while producing that sound.
absolutely.
And I think that's why I love music so much, is I look at this and be like, I could never do that. There's no chance of me ever being able to do that. I would literally have to spend 8 times as much time learning how to play the drums as Cam did in order to do that.
Right.
So I'm looking in complete awe of that going on. And I think that's where my passion for music comes in, because I know what it takes to do that.
Right.
And I know how good you have to be. But let's be honest, Cam makes it look natural, bro. Like,
It really does.
and especially I think because he's always got that look on his face of just like it doesn't change. I mean, he's doing like all these crazy things with his arms, and there's drumsticks flying through the air, but it's there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, bro, are you asleep back there? Like, how do you do that?
Dude,
It's crazy.
the musical ideas that are in Cameron Alador's mind are just.
I know.
He's a brilliant composer on top of everything else. Like
Yeah.
everyone in the band can play multi instruments, and but man, when it comes down to the way that Cameron writes and arranges and stuff like that, it's insane.
Yeah.
I've got the most insanely talented dudes behind me.
You do.
And I really enjoy that I get to take the stage with those guys, because I don't think I'd be as confident, without
true.
them.
It's true. I mean, it goes back to the old saying, you are the product of those you surround yourself by.
Yep.
It's never more true than in music.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you could have the best singer in the world. I mean, let's just pay him some homage right now. Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
You could put Chris Cornell on stage and put a bunch of just me's up there, and I could make him sound really bad. I mean, okay, I know how
He
good his
might
voice
could
is.
still he would still shine
Oh,
through.
I know, but like,
I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Though.
So like that saying is never more true than with a band
Right.
because you are the sum of the individual parts.
Oh yeah. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and I don't have any weak links in my band.
Mm-mm.
You
And
know, everybody is a key factor in the sound and the production and the visual aspects of what the band is, and everybody's a key component. There is no Wildfire without my guys.
exactly.
You
So with the new album, for the people listening, what do you want them to have? Like, what's the biggest takeaway of the new album? Like, what do you want them to kind of what do you want them to learn from it? Or what do you want the theme to be of the new album?
know. Gosh. Now, are you talking in a sense of the?
Like, if somebody just puts in the album from start to finish and just listens to the album, what's the takeaway?
Well, like even though there is the revolt theme with resistance and everything like that, there's also a lot of personal messages in the band. And what I hope the theme of any record we ever put out is you're not alone. Because even if we have a certain theme that we're rolling with the record, at the end of the day, we're still writing our inner struggles and putting them out there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I want to be able to say what other people can't, you know. Much like whenever I was growing up, listening to these bands, because you know I was an angry kid growing up, dude. I really was. Grew up without my dad and all that other good stuff, and you know, thank God I had a stepfather, you know, that was like, hey man, what's up, you know. It was one of those things that when I listened to this music, it said everything that I was wanting so badly to say,
Yeah.
but I couldn't. And that was the other reason I got into music is because, man, I want to do for someone else out there what music did for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because, man, if it wasn't for music, I would have done some stupid things along the way,
Yeah.
you know, and music just always had a way to center me and bring me back to the point of I'm not alone, I'm gonna make it, and someone else is going through this too.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that would be my theme, the theme, and what I hope you would take away is, man, like you're not alone, and go for it.
I love it. Love it. I know I mean, that's been huge with me, and I think that's another reason why I love music so much is no matter where I'm at in my life, there's music there to almost be the soundtrack for my life.
Right.
Whether, I'm going through a really dark time and I have this music come on and it's crazy like how these songs come in your life at the right time.
Right.
And I think a lot of that is just because your ears are perked up to hear certain things at certain times because that's where your energy's kind of flowing. But, I've had certain songs in my life at certain times. I'm like, wow, I needed that
Well,
at this moment.
man, the way that I view that, and it's how I started living my life really, and how I really was able to turn everything around to start being a happy individual. Um, I truly believe that the universe puts you where you're supposed to be. And a lot of the times we don't recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you finally recognize, like even through a period of suffering or trial and tribulation, like you're going through it for a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason. And what you choose to do with that is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And, like once I finally gave into that, if you will, and started following the connections that made me feel not only, mentally happy, but spiritually and physically, like I started pursuing those connections,
Mm-hmm.
And since I've started viewing my life in that aspect, like everything is just really turned around. And
You're like when you felt that positive energy, you were gravitated toward it,
exactly.
and you started pursuing it.
Right. And going back to the, songs, whenever they come out at the perfect time, it's like a little nugget was sent to you from the universe, and it's like, hey, here's something that lets you know that you're not alone. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah. I think one of the funniest things, and I get this all the time. So Most people know me. I'm almost positive to a fault.
Right.
I'm You'll very rarely find me in a negative down mood. I'm always positive,
It's very true.
uplifting,
Every time.
always happy. But then probably 75% of the music that I listen to is pretty heavy.
Oh yeah, dude, I feel you.
I mean, it's really heavy stuff, and like the people that know me, they're like, "That's what you listen to?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I listen to." And they'll hear these bands, and they're just like these metal bands, and they're like, "You listen to that?" It's like, "Yeah," and they're like, "How do you stay in your mindset while listening to that?"
Right.
And I'm like, "It's very simple, for me at least.
Hmm.
Listening to metal gives me a overwhelming sense of gratitude."
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because in order to perform metal and in order to put out a metal album, there's got to be a lot of emotion and passion behind that music. There is, I'm sure there is, but there's not a, I can see, like, if you're being authentic and putting that music out, like, there's some dark places that's coming from.
Oh yeah.
Especially like once you dig into the lyrics and actually listen for the lyrics, like, it's some
For sure.
dark stuff. So, like, I look at them like, my life really isn't that bad. I have it pretty good. I didn't go through nearly any of this stuff. Like, so it just gives me so much gratitude. I'm like, wow, I really am blessed.
Yeah.
My life is
A cool way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I like one of the best examples is, and this is a really dark band, King 810.
Oh, good lord, yeah.
You listen to
They're
their
from
new,
what, Flint?
yeah, you listen to their
Dark stuff for sure.
Ooh, man, his new album. I listen to that. I'm like, I'm so blessed. I didn't have to grow up and see all that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, it's just incredibly dark music, but and like I feel
Flint's
for
a
this
scary
guy.
place, man.
Yeah, and like the stuff he sings about in this music, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel for this guy. Like, oh man, I hate that. That people have to live through that and go through that and grow up like that. But at the same time, like, wow, I didn't.
Yeah,
How blessed am I?
for sure.
And that's what allows me to listen to metal and stay in this positive mindset, because it just allows me to have that attitude of gratitude and like so thankful that I don't have those anger issues. I mean, of course I do have anger, stuff that I deal with, but it's nothing compared to a lot of the issues those guys are singing about.
Right. I mean, that's real life-threatening scenarios,
Man, it's crazy. So in wrapping up, I do want to acknowledge you, because I guess I've known you now for a couple years. We've really gotten closer the last
Yeah.
year, and like when I see a band on stage, I don't care if I don't know them, I do know them. I love live music,
Right.
and I just gravitate towards it. It's something that ever since I was a little kid, like live music. I'll never forget my first concert. But it's just like something about it. I just get lost in live music. But like getting to know you away from the stage, you're such an incredible human being.
Thank you.
Like you're always giving, you're always, trying to be there for other people. And when we sat down a few months ago and you started talking about why you perform music and, the reasons you're doing this, and you started talking about what you just said about giving people a voice and letting them know they're not alone and giving them hope that if we can overcome what we've been through,
Right.
and we're going to put this in our music and we're going to put this in emotion that we give to you, if we can get through this, you can too. And you're not alone in going what you're going through.
Right.
So I want to thank you for putting that out there, because so many people are scared and fearful of putting that rawness out there. So thank you for doing that.
Dude, not a problem, man.
Absolutely. So where can people go to find out not only more about the band, but also download the album?
Records available, iTunes, I believe Amazon, Google Play, Spotify.
So all your favorite music spots.
Pretty much. If you can't find the record, something's wrong.
And request it on your local radio station.
It's another thing. So, for sure. as far as keeping up with social media, facebook.com/wildfireofficial1, the number one. Um, and wildfireofficial.com. The website's still getting some kinks
Working
worked
on it.
out, but
It is
that's
what it is.
life. That's life. But yeah, we're always happy to talk to people, and we run our own Facebook page. We like to talk to everybody that comes through, and if you send us a message, we will respond. It'll be us, and
Hmm.
yeah, we're pretty easy to find. It's Wildfire, 2 words. I'm gonna, you know, you know,
Yeah, yeah, you've been through that. But
just a
guys,
little bit.
I really appreciate you tuning in for this one. Just a good friend of mine and a really great guy, putting out some really good music. So thanks for tuning in. And as always, I'll put all the links in the description below. But for more information on myself, go to robbydangelo.com. Actually, the podcast is now live on iTunes too, so you can go find it on there. But thanks for tuning in. Robby D'Angelo, my good buddy Taylor Roberts, telling you once again the struggle is real.
But you are stronger.
Awesome.